Little dog. Two.
Hi, I'm Jane Rudolph.
And I'm Monsignor Charles Meinhof.
I'm Pat Shelton. Welcome to Real and Happy New Year, everybody.
We're going to make it a happy one. We're starting off right because Father Bob Curtis will tell us how to work on self-esteem.
And the new year, 1990, also means new prices, unfortunately, usually higher. So our senior correspondent, Doris Winkler, is going to tackle the problem of high prices for senior housing.
If you're a cancer patient or you know someone who's battling cancer, you'll want to stay tuned for my very special guest with her message of inspiration and some very practical tips for surviving cancer.
And when you talk about the cancer survivor, one of the best things that gets you through it is prayer. And when you think about prayer, it's a parent's responsibility to teach the child the meaning of the words. It's not just a magical statement.
When you start talking about parents and prayer, watch out for mothers. If they ever organize on you, you're in real trouble. When mothers organize, you know that things are going to be very well set up. Mothers tend to scare me still, but not really. You know, mothers teach us responsibility. Responsibility begins at home. And when a family starts in prayer, you know it's going to continue to have new beginnings.
It's a known fact that gang violence is an escalating problem in our society. Thousands of youngsters have been killed, and thousands more will die as a result of gang activity. Many times, innocent victims are killed, whose only crime is being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The frustration and helplessness of this situation prompted one Los Angeles mother to take action. Her conviction that someone has got to do something led her to establish M.A.G.I.C, Mothers Against Gangs in Communities.
Paul was a 16-year-old kid that was killed in Compton in a drive-by shooting. And this kid had taken my sister to the 9th grade prom, and I was their chauffeur that night. He was a really good kid and never gave his parents any problem. I called his mom to pay my respect. And as I went to her house, sit down and talk to her, and I could see the anger, the hurt, the pain in her heart, and she continued to say, someone has got to do something. And that someone happened to be me.
Patricia, who often changes her appearance for fear of recognition by gang members, established the Los Angeles M.A.G.I.C support group with 15 members. The number has now grown to over 1,000.
What we do is we counsel parents, young parents, parents of gang members, parents of non-gang members. We also counsel gang members. We counsel non-gang members to keep them from joining gangs, to keep them from getting involved in selling drugs or being a part of the problem that's out there today.
I like the violence. I like to fight. I like that part. I like fighting for my colors, you know, which now I realize is dumb. Even though there's some kids out there still saying, no, it's not, because they're still in it. But I understand when you're fighting for something that you believe in. And I wasn't with my family, that was my family, that my gang was my family, and I loved them, and I did anything for them.
It's very common for parents to think, not my child. But M.A.G.I.C teaches parents that they must be strong and willing to look closely at their children's behavior.
Watch his attitude, watch his behavior, watch and see the colors that he's wearing. If all of a sudden he wants to wear either red or blue all the time, go into his room, look through his notebooks. A sign of graffiti writing means something. Learn how to read that graffiti writing. Find out the kids that he's hanging around with, what they're involved in. Set a curfew for that kid. He has to be in by a certain time, or she has to know where he is at any given point in time.
I'm involved in M.A.G.I.C because of my 13-year-old son. He's going to school in a gang-related area, and I'm trying to keep him alive, and his father got killed in June, and I don't want the same thing to happen to him.
This one mother she would continue to say, not my kid. I know my kid is not involved. I know not my kid is not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing. He's going to school. He doesn't associate himself with gang members or drug dealers. Well, a few days after the meeting, this same mother called me because she was getting ready to wash her son's clothes. And as she dumped his hamper, she found a .357 Magnum and drugs as well. She called me because she could not believe that her 15-year-old son was involved, but he was.
Through meetings and support groups, M.A.G.I.C teaches mothers to get involved, to stand up to their kids, and to act as a community.
I strongly feel that it's not only a police problem or a political problem, it's our problem as being parents, as being people in the community.
We're in this neighborhood recruiting mothers, parents to come out and join us in reference to the gang and drug fight in this community. Would you be interested?
It's totally up to the communities that we live in to stand up to the gang members and the drug dealers. You are responsible for your own child and what he does. So it's up to us as parents, as mothers, as fathers as well, to stand up to our children.
An important part of M.A.G.I.C's philosophy is faith and trust in God. Mothers are encouraged to turn to God for strength in dealing with their problems.
If you hold on to God's unchanging hand, it will be all right. And you have to pray about it. We also talk to the parents about if they feel that they cannot do it, turn them over to God. Put their kids in His hands. Let Him handle it. He's going to handle it one way or the other, but you have to believe in His powers, believe in the strength that He has, because He can bring about a change. When we can't, He can.
M.A.G.I.C has been so successful, and the need for support is so great that other cities, including Seattle, San Diego, Boston, and Atlanta, have expressed interest in starting their own M.A.G.I.C chapters. It is Patricia's hope that one day M.A.G.I.C will be established nationwide.
Yes, I do feel that we make a difference. We have been able to get a hold to quite a few youngsters, to talk them out of getting out of gangs, to going back to school, to get jobs and do something constructive with their lives instead of being in gangs.
They showed me a light I've never seen. I was always been in the darkness, and they showed me a new light, telling me, it's really not worth it. And, getting killed over a rag is not really worth it.
We receive a lot of threats, but every time I receive a threat, that means I have more work to do. The kids of today are our future. They're our next doctors, lawyers, attorneys, and if they continue to kill up one another, we won't have anybody. A lot of people say we have a lost generation, but I haven't given up on them because I know that something, somehow, somewhere, is going to bring about a change.
There's only one boy in my family, and it's me. And I don't want it to be, the last one. I don't want to be 6 feet on the ground or in jail. I want my mother to say, oh, my son works for an electrician job. He's doing fine. He has a college degree and everything. He has his own apartment, his own house. He's making it.
A lot of love, a lot of caring, being concerned, find out what your kids are doing. When the school calls, return the call, go to the school, find out the activities that your kids are involved in, find out who your kids are running around with. Let them know they don't have to join a gang to get the love. You will be there for them. We will be there for them. Show them that you care.
My gang is my family. That's the most telling situation. But when your gang goes outside, you better get out and find out what's going on.
And you want to stay in with Reel to Reel tonight as we head into the 90s.
Could this Philadelphian be made a saint of the Catholic Church? The answer may be yes. She's Catherine Drexel, beatified by Pope John Paul II in 1988. Now you can experience her adventurous life story on audio cassette. Get America's Catherine Drexel, The Life of a Saintly Woman. Hear about her life through the voices of the people who actually knew her and continue her work today. The cost of this dramatic audio cassette is only $4.95. To order, call 215-587-3775.
20 years ago, leukemia and related diseases took the lives of enough people to fill a ballpark. But today, more people are surviving, thanks to research by the Leukemia Society of America.
Hi, I'm Gary Carter. Join the team that's striking out leukemia. Support the Leukemia Society of America. We're closing in on a killer.
Happy New Year to you, Kay.
Thank you,
and I guess I could say Happy New Life.
That's right.
Because 10 years ago, you were devastated by some news that you were a cancer patient. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Please give us just a little bit of your background, and then we'll tell the people how you turned this situation into a mission in your life.
Well, my background is that I'm the mother of 7 children. This year I'm married 38 years. My children at that time ranged from 15 to 26. I was working for a newspaper, and then I got news that I had cancer.
And you were in treatment for 3.5 years.
That's right.
And the treatment wasn't very pleasant, was it?
No, I think the cancer treatments are very, very harsh. I was in weekly treatment for 3.5 years, plus many other hospitalizations and, stringent chemotherapy routine.
And during this treatment, you learned a lot of things that you have passed on to other cancer patients. Why don't you tell us some of the things that you learned? And I might as well tell you now, we are going to suggest a book for you, a book that Kay has written, and she's put into this volume her lessons, her mission, her message as a cancer patient. Tell us some of the things you encountered.
Well, I did encounter many small problems, seemingly small, but to a cancer patient they're very huge, and there had to be solutions found. For instance, the taste in the mouth and the dryness of the mouth sores, and what you can eat and what you cannot eat. And I was going about giving counsel to patients on a one-to-one basis and saying, this is a solution to that small problem. And I thought I should write that down. And then I thought I should make that more public so that more people could avail themselves of finding solutions to their problems.
So after you were a cancer patient, went through all the chemotherapy and other treatments, you became a volunteer for the American Cancer Society.
That's right.
And began to tell them what you had learned, not only from the side effects of chemotherapy, but about approaching your financial burden.
That's right.
Give us a little.
Well, the book contains a chapter in there about how to keep the bills and how to send them into insurance companies. If you don't submit them, of course, you're not paid. So you must be a bookkeeper, or someone close to you must take on that responsibility. And I volunteer as a speaker for the American Cancer Society, and I think my big message is hope. In the face of all odds, hope.
Now, unlike most patients, I'm told, your reaction when you learned you had cancer was a bit different. They say that usually there's denial, and then there's the why me, Lord syndrome. But Kay, your attitude was different. Tell us about it.
Well, I think I like a positive attitude, and I do admire people with positive attitudes. And I think the seriousness of life will find us always. And I think you have to be really positive and have a lot of faith in the face of all kinds of adversity.
I read somewhere that you said that you thought this was God's way of stopping you in midstream.
That's right.
And that this perhaps was your mission in life, to be there to encourage other cancer patients.
That's right. I really think that the why me syndrome is a waste of positive energy. You have to stay on with the positive. And I sort of felt that, well, God wants me to do something with this, that I can go on. I can take this cross, or whatever you would call that, and say, I'll use this as my next step in life. I'll use this as my mission. And I felt very much that God wanted me to survive, to carry on some type of work.
You became an instrument for God to give hope to other cancer patients. And Kay wrote down all of her ideas on surviving cancer in this little booklet. It's a small booklet. You can find it in the St. Jude's shop and other Catholic religious shops, or you may get in touch with us here at Reel to Reel, and we'll tell you other sources to get the book. Thank you so much for writing it, and so much for coming in and telling us about your story.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay. And now, Joe O'Neill has selected one of my all-time favorite films for you to consider for your collection of vintage VCR.
Strong faith, disciplined convictions, a point of view so unshakable that society can't sway your belief. A doctrine that says you will never raise your hand against another man, even when it comes to combat, and even when the era is the American Civil War and you are a Quaker. Many of you will recall the classic 1956 movie, Friendly Persuasion, but the younger set may have never shared this wonderful story. I recommend you pick up this film at your video store. Friendly Persuasion is an upbeat and amusing tale of Quaker religious values expressed through a family living an idyllic home life. But the tragic and bloody consequences of the Civil War shatters their porcelain world. Friendly Persuasion carries you into the Quaker home life with adventure, laughter, tears, and compassion. The legendary Gary Cooper and the beautiful Dorothy McGuire star, and Anthony Perkins plays their son in one of his first big screen roles. Because of the Quaker belief in nonviolence, the Civil War tears apart their small Quaker community. In this scene from Friendly Persuasion, a Civil War soldier intrudes on a Quaker prayer meeting to recruit men for the battle.
Thank you, no. I've had the duty placed upon me of speaking to you Quakers about the war.
It is a matter much on our minds and in our prayers.
But your men don't fight in it.
Some have.
But you do not encourage them.
We do not encourage them.
Ma'am, the Union has endured 2 years of bloody civil war. Thousands have given their lives in battle to free our country from slavery.
We are opposed to slavery. But we do not believe it right to kill one man to free another.
Ma'am, it's not going to be a question of fighting for freedom or a principle, but of protecting our own towns, our own homes from attack. Would you men stand by while others die to protect you? You look like a boy who could give a good account of himself.
Oh, I've been tempted to fight. I guess the good Lord knows why. I mean, sometimes I get the sinful wish to get into a scrap. So I gotta watch myself closer than most people. So I'll just stay away from the war. Because if I ever got into it, I'd be a goner.
Friendly Persuasion is an excellent family film. The United States Catholic Conference rates the movie fine for everyone. This is Vintage VCR. I'm Joe O'Neill.
In this 1990, it might be a good time to turn back the clock to the golden age of Hollywood and share your memories with your children.
But right now, do a freeze time. Stay right where you are.
What can you do about AIDS?
Love is what we need. The life that love can bring.
We welcome your comments and suggestions and encourage you to write us at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia 19103, or call us during regular business hours at 215-668-9842.
Some of us are thrilled by them, others are devastated. Risks. But every time you start something new, you take a risk when you begin something.
That's so true, Monsignor. You don't know what the outcome will be. However, risk-taking is going to happen to all of us in the 1990s. It's the process of a new beginning. But if you do have a successful risk-taking, if that brings a wonderful response to your life, it can be the greatest thing that ever happened to you, whether it be for material or for spiritual goals.
As I discussed in an earlier segment, seniors are at great risk in a park where the land is owned by somebody else because there's no way to keep those land rents from rising. However, other seniors have found ways to control their living costs by, number one, leasing the land on a long-term lease or buying the park outright. The 61 residents of this park made a deal with the owner for a 50-year land lease, thereby gaining total control of their park and greatly reducing the monthly overhead.
At that time, he kept raising the rent, as they all do, month after month. And we're paying $195 a month. Well, at the present time, we're paying $90 a month. And we're getting along very well.
After taking over their park, the residents were able to add solar heating for their pool, new streetlights, expensive fencing, and they even repaved the streets. All this at $90 a month apiece. Amazing, isn't it? The land lease for you has been a perfect answer to what was a threatening situation.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What was it you were mainly fearing here?
Well, just like everybody else, most of these parks are now paying $300 and $400 a month rent. And it's ridiculous.
Jack Orwig's accounting sheet clearly shows the total cost of running the park, a mere $5,545 a month for all 61 spaces. So do you think that there's a real reason for these park owners to be raising the rents?
Except they're greedy, that's all. Period.
The residents of this park, afraid that their owner would sell out, bought it themselves and assumed a multi-million-dollar debt.
The total cost of the park was $5.6 million. Well, how it worked out, we did get some assistance from the state, and we got some assistance from the city that was encouraging for us to purchase the park.
Although the purchase was largely underwritten by the government, the monthly cost to each resident is comparatively high.
When we purchased the park, at the price we had to pay for it, meant that our debt service automatically increased our rents on an average for most everybody, approximately about $100.
So now you're paying how much a month?
We're paying at the present time $406 a month.
But this is an investment that will definitely pay off. These coaches, which originally cost $20,000, are now selling for $85,000. Well, you can see you have a couple of options. One is long-term land leases or buying the park outright as a group. The American Association of Retired Persons is a good resource for you if you want more information.
I wonder if it's possible to be a complete Christian without believing in yourself. I don't think so. A simplistic view of a good Christian is someone who does good works. But it seems to me that a person's good works are tainted unless they're born out of self-respect. Self-respect is the key. And we're not born with self-respect, you know. Self-respect is something you have to grow into. Self-respect is something that takes a lifetime of hard work to come by. You first have to come to know yourself, and then you have to respect who you are, and then persevere at who you can become, and then let yourself grow into the person God calls you to be. Persistence in all of that is a fundamental gospel message. If you persist, you will grow. If you persist, it is the promise of Christ that you will become what you are not yet, but want to become. Christ's message to those who can hear it is the world will try to convince you of your limitations. But I want to convince you of your unlimitation because I'm present within you. Persist, Christ says, and you can discover your own unlimited goodness, your priceless value. That's not easy, of course. In fact, it may be one of the most difficult challenges in life. And where do you begin if you're not happy with yourself? I think you begin by understanding one thing, and it's this, that you can change. You really can change. All the great people have discovered this in the world. Abraham Lincoln is a good example, one of my favorite people. You know, Abraham Lincoln suffered from melancholia, and his self-doubt was often chronic. But thanks to a sense of humor and a little wisdom, he persisted in overcoming melancholia. Each time it got him down. I like this one small example. It comes from the Lincoln-Douglas debates, and at one point, Douglas was excoriating Lincoln, and he tried to degrade Lincoln by telling the audience, you know, when I first knew Lincoln, he was a mere grocery keeper, selling, among other things, whiskey and cigars. Mr. Lincoln, in fact, was a very good bartender. Well, Lincoln responded, what Mr. Douglas said, gentlemen, is true enough. I did keep a grocery, and I did sell cotton, candles, cigars, and sometimes whiskey. But I remember in those days that Mr. Douglas was my best customer. And many a time I've stood on one side of the counter and sold whiskey to Mr. Douglas on the other side of the counter. But the difference between us now, gentlemen, is this. I've left my side of the counter. Each of us can move to another counter. The growth towards self-esteem is burdened by frequent discouragement. But if we persist, we are assured by Christ we can change.
Quain reminds us to let go and let God. But don't forget, God helps those who helps themselves. Surviving Cancer, a wonderful book.
No matter what touched you tonight on Reel to Reel, we're here for you, so give us a call and we will put you in touch.
And so, from all of us to all of you, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Tell them again, Happy New Year.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen, Newtown Square, PA, 215-359-5980.
Take a stand. I'm here to lend my hand. Now that I can see, the change is up to me.
It's up to us. What are you waiting for?